Devils fans. It is July 2nd at 9:20 in the morning, meaning the first day of free agency has officially concluded. And I think it went about as expected as most of us thought. Uh, Fairly uneventful from a big contract signing for the Devils, considering all of our big names and headache of contracts were figured out before today, in the most part. Few notes were Mikey and Nate coming in, signing both together, our super buddies, for a total under 3 million, which is what we were all hoping for. Mikey 1 year at 1.4, Nader at 1.35 over the next 2 seasons. Mikey's contract, I think, I was expecting a second year with a little bit higher, or second, even a third year at a little bit higher of a AAV, but he really seems to have bet on himself on this one, only taking the 1 year. I don't think the outside circumstances had anything to do with this one. I really do think he wanted to take advantage and the cap going up over the next couple of seasons and really just betting on himself to be more than just that fourth line center who takes faceoffs, but actually contributing a bit more on the score sheet, potentially, even though he says he wants to be here long term, maybe cashing out somewhere else when we just are not going to want to pay him the figure he probably will be owed if he continues the back half of last season and playoffs type of play that he was showing us. Nate, however, I think was pretty much spot on. A little bit less than Mikey, which was obviously expected, but the extra year. So Super Buddies spend at least one more season together with us, and I think we are all happy to have both of them back as they know the system, they know the guys, and the vibes in the room will be amazing. For you, those of you who didn't see it, we had Jack putting out, I believe, it was an Instagram post showing support for his boys coming back. I know I've seen over social media they hang out on basically all the holidays, especially Halloween and stuff. Um, Going out together on the away trips and stuff like that. So I know we got a pretty tight group there with Jack, Mikey, Nate, and a few of the other guys. So it's really good for them to have all their boys back. The only other significant move that was made, as we didn't sign him, but instead gave up a 2025 fifth round pick, was for Colin Miller. This was the depth right side defenseman pick I was looking for and talking about. 30 years old, only has a year left at 1.85. So if Nemec is not ready, he fills in that spot where Severson previously was, and he's definitely better than Smith. So either way, Nemec comes in and is ready. Smith could go down through waivers. Miller being our 7th D, assuming the ball contract does come through here at some point, which I believe is fully expected by everyone. And that really shores up our defense, and no matter which road we end up going with Nemec, as Luke is obviously a guaranteed lock, if not top line at least, on that second pairing, likely with Marino. Beyond that, we did make some mostly AHL type signings for the boys in Utica. We had Justin Dalling, a 32-year-old. At most, he'd probably be a stopgap fourth liner with injuries if he plays himself into that spot. But I think there's even a few guys ahead of him that are already in Utica that will come up instead. He didn't play in the NHL at all last year, so it seems pretty locked in that he will be in Utica for the entire year. We did technically grab a goalie, but I do not think it was the big move we possibly were expecting. That might still be on the back burner, but from the sounds of it, Boston wants to keep both of their guys. Hellebuck is still entrenched there in Winnipeg, as I don't think they're seeing the prices they want. A lot of teams scared of that extension Hellebuck is asking for. So instead, we pivoted to Eric Calgren. I believe he was with Toronto these past couple of seasons. He's really there, I think, to fill in while Dawes is still injured for a bit. Assuming we do grab another goalie, Schmidt will be the starter down there. Calgren backing up until Dawes returns, and then we'll see where we're at if we did pick someone else up, if Schmidt comes up, or where we're at that time. In the NHL, he's never been over 900. He's only 26, so for him, it's really now or never if he is going to force his way back into the NHL. And I think if there's any system for him to do that in, it is definitely with us. Our other two-way contract signing from yesterday was Kyle Carrasculo, who I am tight for because he is a Jersey boy from Southampton. Anyone that knows me, I have an absolute soft spot for any Jersey boy coming into our system. For those of you that don't know, he is actually a point per game player last season. Over an 82 game season, he was statistically on track to put up 82 points. So even at 31 years old, absolute steal of a signing. Please do not look into that stat too much. You might find out it was only a 1 game sample with a goal. But technically, the analytics there would tell you on pace for 82 points. So an absolute steal for that Jersey boy. And that was really it for the big signings. Big in quotation marks, as like I said, our big deals were all taken care of. Our boy Timo Bratter signed before July 1st. No headaches or stress this one. Our team's pretty locked in. Like I said, we maybe we're looking still with the people that are still out there. Some maybe a goalie, although I think that ship maybe is sailing, or another depth winger to come in, as our defense is definitely filled out. As far as our former UFAs that are no longer with us and moved on to other teams, we have Graves signing for 6 years at 4.5 over in Pittsburgh. This is going to take him until he is 34 years old. Graves, I think, did great. I know there was maybe a little bit more to be desired come playoff time, but he's solid. Second pair, he could possibly play on that top pairing there with Letang. And I think while that contract length is definitely long, Pittsburgh does not care. They are all in on the Crosby, Malkin, Letang time frame. So anyone that fills in that gap, even if it goes beyond, they don't care. He deserves that money. I am very happy for him, and I'm glad we are not the ones to have given him that contract. Wood, our absolute boy, I've always had a soft spot for Miles Wood, just an absolute engine. Definitely was not the exact same player since his injury. Coming back, seems to have lost a little bit of the speed, which really made him a threat. Even though he sometimes finished off, I mean, he still had double-digit goal seasons, and he was a heart and soul guy for this team. Also got 6 years at 2.5 with Colorado, which will take him till he is 33 years old. Again, very happy he is not on this team with that contract. 2.5 for a fourth liner, even though he kind of can play up to that third line. If he forces himself into a third line role on Colorado, that could be a pretty nice looking contract for them. By the end of it, though, especially with his play style, if he leaves even another step of his speed over those 6 years, not going to look too great. But at 2.5, you buy him out, especially with the cap expecting to explode over those 6 years. It's really not going to look too bad for them. And they need to go in now with Makar at his absolute peak and McKinnon coming in at that monster contract now. They had to squeeze every little penny they can. Other big name UFA from us, Tatar, seems to still be unsigned as of this morning. He will definitely find some landing spot, even for teams that are questionable for playoff, where he seems to not keep the same pace as he does in regular season. Kind of similar to what we did last year. If you're expecting to be a bubble team, someone's going to pick him up as they are looking to fill out when every other option has been expended for them, which he absolutely deserves. He was phenomenal in the regular season, and pretty much any team would be lucky to have him in a middle six, even a top line for some of these teams type role. And finally, as I'm sure most of you saw, Bookvist will not be returning. I am a little upset over this. I think if he found even the slightest scoring touch to add to his game, he would have been very well rounded for us. So the team that is going to take a shot on him in a bottom six role, I think will be very happy with what he brings. And I absolutely wish the best for him. I can't wait to see where he does end up. To follow up a little bit about some of the guys that had moved out, we had Sharon Govich, did end up signing that contract with the Flames, 2 years at 3.1. Pretty decent value, assuming he can find someone to ride with him at the wing. A little bit more maybe of a play driving center for him to shoot off of. If he can get back to form in that type of circumstance, 3.1 will look really nice. But if he ends up being a passenger on a passenger line, might wish that money was better spent elsewhere. But for a team whose every big name player is walking away, fans will definitely be happy. I mean, even just for his quotables and personality, that money is probably worth it. Zetterlund finally extended with the Sharks, 2 years at 1.45. Surprisingly, he is getting paid more than both Mikey and Nate. So for those that were upset for him leaving, I just can't see where he would have fit on this team, especially with that contract right now. Maybe you could say he'd be on that fourth line with both of them, but the fact that we got Timo with him as an asset piece, no complaints there, obviously. Blackwood, even though there was some contention there with signing with the Sharks, did end up with 2 years at 2.35. Bit of a role for the Sharks, especially a team that has always struggled to seemingly develop and help their goalies out. But hey, we've seen good play from Blackwood earlier on, but really ever since COVID. And I think with this team, there was just going to be a mental block for him that he will never get past. And I'm glad, to be honest, that he will try and find his way in California, of all places. So best of luck to him. Hopefully it works out for him and the Sharks, because the better our trades look to these teams, the better the guys we trade away to other teams look and play for those teams. Even though Fitz seems to fleece every one of these other GMs in these trades, they're going to keep coming and trading with them if what we're giving away works out for those other teams, even if what we get back ends up being better. Couple other names of notes for those that do care. We had Riley Walsh, who is still an RFA with Boston, has not received his contract yet. With some of the signings they made, he is likely going to remain in their farm system, yet to really crack a permanent spot in the NHL. But we wish the best of luck for him. There was always a hope that he would force his way onto this team, but with his age and with what our right side looks like, it was just not happening here. So we wish the best of luck for him. And for our old school fans that like knuckles to faces, Geertsen ended up over in Vegas looking like a pure AHL contract. But for those of you that care about that kind of stuff, he hopefully has another home making some money. And by all accounts is a great guy. And I am always here for good people getting paid money from people that need to give their money away. So really that kind of handles all of our contracts that were handed out, our former guys that were on the team last year, and kind of catches us up on the first day of free agency. So with all that, I'd say I give Fitz a absolute A. It's not a full A plus type of day. If he maybe could have squeezed a couple of these other guys that went other places, for the most part, I didn't want to give any of them really the contracts they received, save a couple. But with where our lineup's at, I am happy. We got cap room to spend, which is why, that and the fact that Fitz has not done his presser yet is always a good indication that there's another move out there or two to be made. Obviously, spots we're looking at still is goalie and a winger forward, probably depth, but I could see Fitch really going all in here. Holtz is not a guarantee, as hyped as I am for him to really make a spot in this lineup for himself. And if they did find a real good third line right winger to come in and either be like, Holtz, you're either forcing your way on this team or you're in Utica for the year, because we're going for it with, as Fitz said, he wants the best top 9 in the league. And I think even with Holtz, we have an argument for that. If he gets an obvious upgrade there, it's no question. So I'm excited. I am hyped. I can't wait to see what this day brings for us, and I'll let you guys know how my thoughts are come tomorrow. If there was any obvious guys that signed elsewhere on a good contract you think we missed out on and you are pissed at Fitz that he missed it, please let me know, because I just can't see, after how this has already gone for us this offseason, how you could be upset with how management, ownership, or anything is being handled. I am hyped. I cannot wait. I hope our Jersey boy forces his way on this team and does go point per game. That would be awesome for me personally. But if I had to comment on any of the other teams in our divisions making moves, nobody scares me. There's anyone that's even sniffing our coattails would be Carolina, obviously. Knocked us out in the second round. Brought in a lot of guys, actually spent a good amount of money. I never really got the criticisms of how they spend their money. For the most part, I definitely think they could push in a little bit more of their chips sometimes to upgrade. But really, they spend really smart, and it gives themselves the cap and flexibility to do what they did yesterday. And they still have money to spend. However, it's a lot different because they are really on a 1, maybe 2 year window. They have to win that cup, because after 2 years for sure, if not even after this next season, they are going to be in some trouble with having to re-sign guys or find bargain deals out there, which they do seem to do a really good job of. Where us, however, on the other hand, we seem to be set for at least the next 8 to 10 years with the amazing contracts long term and ages of all of our players. So Carolina's all in, and they are going to be a tough out, assuming we do meet them again in the playoffs and every game of the regular season where we meet them. They're easily our biggest competition in the East, in my opinion. I don't think Toronto, who got worse, is any competition for us. Tampa, older, slower, not going to be an issue. Boston, absolutely not. Panthers, unless Matty Kachuk absolutely carries them again or Bob stands on his head, which I just don't see happening, at least in the regular season. Carolina's really our only threat. And I think after having this run with the core of our boys, and especially a full year of chemistry with Timo coming in, I just can't see how they are an obvious pick over us. I will put the mortgage on our boys any day, anytime. And that's where we're at. We are one full day into this season, and I can't wait to keep updating you guys on my thoughts, feelings as we progress through this long off season, because boy, can I not wait for this one to get started. So let me know what you guys think. Can't wait to speak to you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.